Well, thanks very much, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. We were just comparing notes on the wonderful weather in Victoria over the summer period. It was just a gorgeous summer. I was saying to Michael, I always find that in Melbourne it's either too hot or too cold during the Christmas period, but it was a stunning couple of weeks, and then of course a great showcase at the tennis last week. Slightly disappointing final, I guess, but nonetheless, I think it makes you feel proud visiting the Australian Open, because they've done such an incredible job and such a showcase for all the things that are wonderful about Victoria and Melbourne, which is my hometown. So thank you very much. And thank you also to CEDA for inviting me today, because CEDA is a very important organisation, makes a very valuable contribution to the exchange of ideas around key issues for our country and also for our future. And of course, one of the biggest issues that we all face today is something that's very important, which is the future of work. Because work is important. It's important for our livelihood, for our self-esteem, for our identity, and collectively for our economy and for our country. But the nature of work is changing rapidly. It's changing because of advancements in digital technologies and connectivity. And this will affect every aspect of our lives and every job and every business. And it is driving disruption to the traditional workplace on a truly global scale. Now, some people believe that we're all going to be replaced by robots, artificial intelligence and automation, and there's cause for great alarm. However, I always describe myself as a technology optimist. So I see a different world. I see a world full of opportunities, but only if we make the right investments and the right decisions. But I certainly do not underestimate the scale of the impact on the workforce which is now underway, nor the level of concern and fear that obviously some would necessarily and naturally feel. The workforce changes we are seeing are profound, and they will be felt right the way across the board, big companies and small companies. The key question, though, is what is Australia doing? What can we do as companies to be ready for these changes? I don't know about you, but I'm sort of thinking as we sort of came into the new year that it's hard to believe that we are rapidly approaching the end of the 20-teens. It's almost 20 years since the beginning of the 21st century. I can still vividly remember the end of 1999, the excitement that was around the end of the century, and the concerns. Who remembers the Y2K bug? Many thought it was going to lead to all sorts of catastrophic events, and how wrong did we get that one? We've come a long way since then. 20 years ago, 3G phones had literally only just been launched, and the internet access on our phones became possible for the first time. I don't know if you knew this, but you could not get access to the internet on 2G. This year, 5G will though become a reality, and it is 100 times faster than 3G, 100 times faster than 3G. But it's more than just a smartphone and a faster smartphone, although it is certainly that. 5G will bring a quantum leap in network speed and capacity in an age where the demand for data is exploding. However, the true power of 5G is the fact that it is arriving at exactly the same time as a number of other really important technologies are maturing. And by these, I mean technologies such as software-defined networks, technologies such as the Internet of Things, cloud computing, machine learning, artificial intelligence. In a world where sensors are now being incorporated into virtually everything and connected, it's this unique convergence of these technologies, all maturing simultaneously, brought to life by 5G, that will create this incredible transformation. Because these sensors will produce huge amounts of data that are able to be stored and processed in the cloud with incredible computing power, and where artificial intelligence and machine learning engines will turn that data into insights to drive automation and power robotics. And this is what has far-reaching implications for every industry. In many ways, one could argue we're entering a fourth industrial revolution as we enter the 2020s. The question, therefore, that we're going to address today is, what does all of this mean for work and for jobs in the future? Now, CEDA's own research has estimated that 5 million jobs in Australia, that's almost 40% of all jobs that exist today, have a moderate to high likelihood of disappearing in the next 10 to 15 years. Machine learning is the biggest driver of this, and in future, many tasks which are performed today, particularly traditional service type activities, will be done by computers more quickly, more cheaply, more accurately, in whole or in part. But does that mean that robots are going to take over our jobs? From my perspective as a technology optimist, I would say no. Certainly there are profound changes ahead, and all jobs will be affected in one way or another. But we should not forget that new jobs will also be created in new areas requiring new skills and new talents. Human creativity and entrepreneurialism should never be underestimated. To ready our workforces, though, and to help the workforce of today and prepare tomorrow's workers, we do need to think carefully about the future of work, the investments that we are making, and the capabilities and skills that we are building. And I'd like to reference some of the changes that are happening in Telstra to illustrate how this is playing out for us in the real world. Let me start by context. Telecommunication companies in Australia and around the world are facing unprecedented change, as I know many of you are in your industries. In our industry, this is driven by the massive growth in demand for data, increasing competition, and changing and rising customer expectations. I have not yet met a customer who has told me that their internet is too fast. I haven't met that person yet. I have not yet met a customer who does not want twice as much data next year that they had to this year, faster and for a lower price. That's the challenge we face. And it drives an incredible amount of capital investment, technology innovation to support that. Added to this, we have a particular extra separate challenge that can be summarised in 3 letters, the NBN. The National Broadband Network renationalises Australia's fixed broadband network, and this means that Telstra no longer is the main wholesale provider, as Telstra has been since the date it was privatised almost 20 years ago. The impact on us as a company is profound. It means that we basically lose between 1/3 and 1/2 of our earnings, because these are revenues that used to come to Telstra that are essentially now going to the government. You cannot take away a material part of a company's business and earnings and expect it to carry on with the same strategy and the same workforce. It's hardly surprising, therefore, that at Telstra we are reducing our workforce by 8,000 roles, around a quarter of our team. That's a very difficult decision to make, and it's a very tough thing to do. But you also need to put that in the context that NBN Co, which is becoming the wholesale fixed broadband services provider in Australia, now actually employs 7,000 people itself directly, and a field force of 24,000, many of them, of course, former Telstra employees. So when looked at a national level, the impact is very different. And I'm sure that point is not lost. NBN, though, combined with the changing marketplace and the broader opportunities created by this 4th industrial revolution, have meant that we have to restructure for the future. And we announced a plan last year, which is our plan to do that, called T22. And this is about Telstra radically simplifying our products, eliminating many of the customer pain points that we know our customers have felt with telco services in the past, creating all digital experiences and leaving our legacy behind. And most relevant to the address today, transforming our workplace. To help transform our workplace, we have developed a future workforce strategy. It's something that we've been working on for the last few years. It lays out how we need to attract, develop, retain, retrain and rebalance our workforce. It also details how we need to be more agile in the way we work. A key part of our program is to bring those serving our customers closer to a much smaller, more agile group of senior and middle management, and that means we are reducing this group by at least 25% and our organisational layers within the company from between 2 and 4. While we're reducing our directly engaged workforce, we're also, though, building new capabilities by recruiting 1,500 new roles in areas such as software engineering, data analytics and cyber security. These roles are sourced where the best talent is available, and that is both within and outside of Australia. Currently, and by necessity, we are sourcing far more of this talent from outside of Australia than from within. And that's why we're committed to work with government and industry partners to explore building a bigger technology talent pipeline within Australia for the overall benefit of the nation. And it's a point I'm going to come back to in a moment. By the end of our financial year 2021, the proportion of both our offshore workforce and our industry partner workforce will decline as a result of reduced call volumes and more efficient and effective order fulfilment delivered through our strategy. Through all of this, we also need to remain absolutely committed and focused on maintaining our presence in regional Australia. And we do not expect the current balance of our workforce between metro and regional to change materially as a result of our strategy, although we need to remember overall our workforce is declining. A key part of our workforce strategy is to ensure that we create a great environment for our employees and continue to improve our standing as an employer of choice. We need to make sure that Telstra is an easier place to work for our employees, and as part of this strategy, we're introducing new ways of working, including Agile. Now, I'm sure many of you, like me, use products and services from companies such as Netflix or Apple or Sonos, and you will have seen, as I do, how regularly you get a notification of a change to their app and an instruction to upgrade and install or upgrade the software. It's constant. Now, however, they're not adopting Agile because it's the latest management fad. They're doing this because their business model is built around a continuous, rapid upgrade, improvements to customer experiences, products and services. And that is what Agile enables. Companies that use Agile typically get better results for customers. They do it faster, at a lower cost, with a better employee experience. The introduction of Agile is also a recognition of the fact that at Telstra, we need to bring in people with new thinking and different mindsets. As a company, we've passionately believed diversity in our workforce leads to diversity of thought and, in turn, better customer outcomes. In practical terms, that means we do not necessarily need the perfect engineer. We need a great engineer who can collaborate and participate in problem solving across the business. It's an important shift, and it goes right to the heart of the type of company we need to be. As I mentioned earlier, T22 also means that we need to build new skills and new capabilities in new areas. We need these capabilities now, but the fact is we cannot find in Australia enough of the skills that we need on the scale that we need them, particularly in software engineering. Why? There are simply not enough of them. The pipeline is too small. We're also competing for these skills domestically with, of course, other organisations in Australia, probably many of you. That competition is fierce, and it's estimated that Australia will have a shortfall of 60,000 skilled workers in the ICT sector in the next 5 years alone. That means we're having to recruit some of those capabilities on the global market, including in places like India. Given our urgent need, Telstra will be creating a new Telstra Innovation and Capability Centre in Bangalore this year. Bangalore is India's Silicon Valley, and even there we are competing for talent with Google, Facebook and Apple and many other digital companies. This Innovation and Capability Centre consolidates our presence in India, where we are already working with many partners, and it takes in-house talent that we had previously sourced from third parties. In other words, it means we're not increasing overall the number of resources that we have in India, we're actually bringing them in-house. It means we can quickly hire, develop and scale the talent across our business, including back into Australia. It also complements what we're doing here in Australia within Telstra Labs, within Mura-D, our accelerator program, and within our customer insight centres, where we're doing incredible amounts of innovation. A key step to building more of this talent to Australia is first to bring it in-house to Telstra, and that is what this centre enables. Another key factor for us is the ability to bring skilled migrants into our team when we need to. Now, immigration in Australia is often a vexed issue and attracts an enormous amount of political and media angst. In fact, it's not just an issue in Australia. In the US and the UK, we are seeing significant negative commentary around immigration. I believe globally this is an unhealthy and potentially dangerous path for the world to take. We need to build skills in the world, not walls. An ongoing skilled migration policy is essential for Australia and essential for Telstra to attract and recruit the right talent and capabilities that we need to transform and compete effectively on a global scale. We support the continuation of policies that include measures which amplify and reduce administration costs and serve to attract talent. It's also important to remember that a well-targeted skilled migration policy is a job creator, not a job taker. Skilled migrants bring ideas, they bring expertise and innovation, and they bring capacity to train and skill their Australian colleagues. Skilled migrants also add to Australia's wealth. Research by the IMF estimated that Australia's migration program would add up to 1% of annual GDP growth from 2020 to 2050 because it focused on skilled migrants of working age and would limit the economic impact of Australia's ageing population. So we not only need new strategies for the future of work at a company level, we also need them at a national level. As we rapidly approach the 2020s and think about the future of work in a time of great technology change, we need vision. We need a vision with clear goals and strategies for all Australia. We need a vision that embraces businesses, unions, not-for-profits, governments, communities, young and old. A vision that capitalises on our position as an already technologically advanced nation, a nation of early adopters that transcends the political cycle, encourages and supports innovation, and is cognizant of the tech changes fast coming down the path towards us. To remain the lucky country, we need to become a future-focused country as well, and that takes vision at a national level. We also need to ensure we are building the right core skills to set up Australia with an educated, skilled and creative population able to work productively in the innovative workplaces of the future. In the digital age, it is people, the skills they have, but also the way they think and the way they collaborate that will underpin Australia's competitive advantage. At the heart of this is, of course, our STEM skills: science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Though it is important to broaden this to STEAM, add an extra A, being a reference to the arts, or what is sometimes termed as the soft skills. I often think about this as the glue skills. For example, if you take a skill that we need at Telstra, engineering, every engineer who comes up with a new innovation practices far more than maths, engineering and technological prowess. They also use design thinking, creativity, communication skills to bring those innovations to life. Today's innovators, including those at Telstra, work collaboratively in open spaces, sharing ideas globally with other thinkers. These less tangible skills allow the best ideas to morph into something great. That is what I mean by the glue. It means the final result is greater than the sum of the individual technological parts. Australia's curricula, our training courses and our workplaces must reflect that 21st century professionals need to be well-rounded design thinkers and skillful communicators, as well as technologists and mathematicians. We need to do much better as a nation building our workforce on a foundation of STEAM. The final area where we must focus on as a nation for our workforce is partnerships, and particularly the close alignment required between business, government and the tertiary sector. I flagged earlier that Australia's skilled labour market is currently too small to meet Telstra's need for specific skills, and we have to ramp up our recruitment of software engineers from overseas. To be more precise, Australia had around 1,200 new software engineers in the last 12 months. India had 44,000. That's 40 to 1. Adding to the challenge, we have to compete for these skills domestically with other Australian organisations. And that is why it is so critical for Australia to build these skills locally. And as a major employer with significant technology skills, Telstra very much wants to play our part in this. To that end, in addition to what we're already doing locally, we're establishing a partnership program with a small number of universities around developing specific capabilities. We recently started to partner with the University of Wollongong on their Global Leaders Development Program and have taken our first big data students as an intern, one of 80 students from around Australia who have been working with us over the summer. In the months ahead, similar partnerships will be established with additional tertiary institutions around key technology areas such as software-defined networking and machine learning. As part of this, we also guarantee that we will take a number of graduates each year. As a nation, we have to do more to get the balance right between what the government does, what the private sector needs, and what is being taught in institutions and universities. When we look at deep domain technology skills we need at Telstra, and when we look at our growth profile, Australia is just not able to meet our requirements in the short term, and we have to tap into the global market to address this. There is a national call to action, therefore. We have to stop looking at this problem and start acting on it now, because these challenges are in front of us at this very moment. We want to be part of this discussion, but more importantly, we want to be part of the solution. So let me finish my remarks today on a personal note. Last year, I marked 40 years in the workplace. I know I don't look that old, but I marked my 40th year in the workplace. I started work at the age of 15 in London as a shipping clerk. That's a job that no longer exists. Offices in those days were organised by hierarchy. The computers worked using punch card and paper tape. And can you believe it, people were even smoking in the office. I've seen firsthand how the workplace has changed, as I know many of you have too. I've seen how roles changed. I've seen roles disappear completely. At the same time, however, employment has actually increased, as has productivity and efficiency, as new technologies have been introduced. I've also seen many changes in the nature of what constitutes a successful company. From Australia's perspective, I think it's a missed opportunity to consider that in the main, our top 10 listed companies in Australia are many decades old and have been essentially the same top 10 listed companies for a long period of time, and are generally speaking from traditional industries. Contrast this with the US, where their top 10 companies include a number of relatively recently formed digital companies such as Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. This is neither a criticism or a prognosis of any of these companies and how they're going to do in the future. It's just a stark illustration of how technology has shaped another country's economy and corporate sector. We would be naive to think it's not going to continue to drive changes in our lives and in the workplace. The real issue then is how do we respond and how do we prepare ourselves for the future? How do we ensure that our companies, yours and mine, and Australia is successful, because these changes are upon us now and we have to prepare for the workforce of the future. Thank you.